This is Spike. His buddy Oliver is over there. Now outside on walks, they're good together. Inside, he is the more submissive dog, even though he's a lot bigger than Oliver, and this is a good example of how size does not matter. It's your confidence and your attitude. But basically, inside the house, he is a submissive dog to Oliver, and Oliver's gone after him a couple times, mostly around resources like bully sticks, bones, and things along those lines. Now, this is, for the roadmap of success, I wanted to kind of talk about, and the Guardian's doing a good job of keeping Oliver off the furniture, which is one of the rules that we suggested. For dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or status they have. Perfect. And you stood up, so in the future, make sure you hiss first, then stand up second. Otherwise, if you're already standing, then you lose the oomph that comes from that. All right, so we're going to incorporate some rules. Rules like no furniture, having to sit before they go through a closed door, having to wait for the human to go through the door first. If we have stairs, I would sometimes teach the dog to stay at the bottom of the stairs. The human goes up, and we call the dog up. Also, the dog should not be allowed within 7 feet of the humans who are eating food. Since the humans eat sometimes in this table, I suggested the area rug that's around the table should be off limits just while there's food being present. The rest of the time, the dogs can come and go as they please. Now, in the other video, I went over some of the signs to watch for from Oliver, and recognizing those signs will really go a long ways towards helping the Guardians know when to intercede, when to disagree, to help him feel like the Guardians are watching over me and I don't have to watch out for myself, and that'll boost his confidence. And also Oliver saying, well, man, they're taking a leadership role. They're disagreeing with me before I have a chance to really do anything. We have a tendency to think, I bought the dog, I pay for your food, I pay for your chew toys, I take you to the vet, I take you to the dog park, I walk you, I am the leader. Dogs base it on what they see us do. And they're always like, I didn't see you build the house. I didn't see you hunt anything down. I didn't see you. So doing things like enforcing rules consistently can help the dog start to see and identify the Guardian as being in that authority role. Let's see, I'd like the Guardians to practice petting with a purpose. So if the dog nudges us or scratches at us, we're not going to pet the dog for sure. We're going to give a counter order, tell it to sit. When it sits, we're going to pet them under their chin. Do not say the word good sit or good dog, just say the word sit. If you want to lay down, say down, and as soon as it lays down, scratch it. You can scratch it anywhere else, just avoid patting it on top of the head. One of the Guardians is in a habit of pushing the dog's butt down into a sit position, and I don't like to do that. I don't like to force the dog to do anything. So we want to use the hand motion. Come here, buddy. See if we can demonstrate this on. There we go. Come here. Oh, there we go. Come on. Got to get him going. So what I do is I hold my hand like it's like this, and I go in an arc over their head. Sit. As soon as their butt hits the ground, we lower, and then let them lick the treat off our hand. Anytime we give a treat, the second it goes into their mouth is when they should hear the command word, and just the command word. Then I like to tickle under the chin, because we're not always going to give them a treat, and this way they at least get somewhat of a reward. So if you use that hand motion, you can put the dog in a sit without forcing them into the sit, and that makes the dog more amicable to do that in the future. Petting with a purpose will also help make it easier for the dog to sit, because it's just going to practice it, because that's now the new thing that I do to get attention from my humans. I'd also like the Guardians to start practicing passive training. So anytime the dog comes to us, we're going to pet it and say, come. Every time it sits down on its own, we're going to pet it and say, sit. Even though we didn't ask it to do it, it's still the end result we're looking for. Same thing with laying down. And if there's any other actions that the dog does on a regular basis, we're going to go ahead and do that as well to try to give the dog more communication of what it can do to make us happy. Come here, buddy. You're such a good-looking dog. You look like Stella. Nicole's going to watch this video, and she goes, he does look like Stella. All right, what else we're going to do? Let me see. I'd like the Guardians to start feeding the dogs in a more structured way. So we're going to put the food down. We're going to ask the dogs to leave the kitchen area first. We're going to put the food down, and the dogs are not allowed to come in. Then we're going to eat something first. If you're going to go out to eat, you can just eat something of 5 or more bites of a chip or a cracker. Then we're going to invite whoever the calmer dog is first. If they're both calm, then we're going to default and invite Spike in first, because he is the more subordinate dog and we want to build up his confidence. Or just at least help him feel more secure in that role, in a different role. And that puts Oliver in a little bit more of a follower position and gives him a little bit more status. It's not going to fix your problems, but it's going to help his mindset a little bit. Now remember, for Oliver, he's a picky eater. Right now he's got an upset tummy. But if I tell him to eat, and again, when you take the first bite, say whatever the command word is for that dog. Each dog should have a unique command word for eating. That way we can feed them independently without the other dog trying to take the food. So if it's feast, the first bite, feast for a month. Every time they take the first bite, say feast and say it consistently the same way, not feast one day and feast the next day. We want to be consistent. After a while, we should say feast, and then that dog knows he's allowed to come in. Now, at first they were both challenging trying to get into the kitchen, but eventually they'll resign themselves to the fact they're not going to be able to get in. They'll sit and lay down and wait for permission to be invited in. And for Oliver, if he eats a bite or two and then walks away, as soon as he walks longer than 4 feet away from his bowl, we pick up his bowl, we dump the empty food out back in the bag, put the empty bowl back down, and then he doesn't eat again until the next meal. Now, the only way that this will go longer than 3 days of not eating is if somebody's cheating, so don't cheat for him. You're working against yourself. Hunger becomes your ally. You're given an opportunity to eat twice a day. If he chooses not to eat, that's on him, and he's being stubborn, challenging you. We didn't even understand, hey, I'm going to provide it for you, but your job is to eat and do what I ask you to do. I'm not asking you to do anything bad. Let's see what else. Walking the dogs. I like to start walking the dogs together, especially after a fight. We want to give them a chance to separate and settle down so they stop staring at each other and stop being panicky. But we want to take them out for that walk as soon as possible, even if it's just the end of the block and back. Walking is how dogs get over things. It's a positive activity that they both definitely enjoy. And so this gives them a way to kind of have a fond remembrance of each other, as opposed to the last thing I remember about him that day was we got in a fight. Now remember, when we're walking, we're going to use the rules for a structured walk. If you forget what those are, go to doggoneproblems.com where it says dog training tips, click that. And then on the right side of the page, actually looking at it, I think it'll be on this side, but for me it's over here. And it's a search box. Just type in structured walk, and you'll see a whole bunch of write-ups where there'll be videos where I explain the process for a structured walk. But we're not going to let the dogs be in front or mark, especially for Oliver, because if he marks, that's going to make him more reactive to other dogs we run into. We want to get a martingale collar for Oliver and use a special twisted leash to stop him from pulling. Also, make sure that when, something else I do on walks is every once in a while, especially when one of the guardians is going to walk the dog separately, when you're walking down the street and there's no reason, like one of the things I do is in between each driveway, I stop randomly somewhere and I tell the dog to sit. As soon as it sits, I pop a treat in his mouth and then we off again. So over the course of a walk, we might practice to sit 15, 20, 30 times. You multiply that by 7 walks. Now I've practiced that 200-300 times. Now, after a while, the dog starts walking and looking at you to see where she's going to stop. Every time she stops, I get a treat. Come on, let's stop. Oh, stop. Sit, I get the treat. Now we've conditioned the dog, stop. When I stop, you sit down and you get a reward. Then when you run into one of your neighbors, you're like, hey, Peggy, what's going on? Like, wow, your dog is really well behaved. How did you do that? You used to be all over the place. You're like, well, we hired Doggone Problems, and they did a good job. But really all we're doing is we're just simply teaching them that if you sit in front of a person, you're going to get a reward. We call this learning demand. And Lowe's and Home Depot are both dog-friendly stores. You might want to take him in there, and if people want to pet your dog, one-up them. Oh, would you like to give him a treat? I'd love to give him a treat. Then I do it first. Use the hand motion, put him in a sit, say the word sit, then hand the person the treat. Now most people are, now this makes me sound jaded, but a lot of people are not very swift when it comes to dogs. They're like, sit. Look, dear, the dog sat. No, look at him, he sit. Look, isn't that cute? Sit. And they're holding the treat up here, and the dog's like, where is my payment? Where's my reward? You have 3 seconds to do this. Now, they don't know that. So if somebody does this, then as soon as he sits, pet him and say, sit yourself. And then just say, can you say sit when you give him the treat? You can't tell people what to do, but you can kind of coach them along. But that will help him have a more of a positive association with people he doesn't know. If I just sit in front of a stranger and they give me a treat. I like that. Let me see. I'm sure I'm probably, for Oliver, because he likes, for Oliver to get away from the baby, we're going to set up that playpen, or either a playpen, or set up a hole so that he can go to the door of the closet, or teach him to go through the railing so that he has a place that he can go to get away from the child. Now, if you need to do that on command, what I would do is if you're using the railing, let him see you have a treat, touch his nose, make sure he can see you the whole way, walk over and drop it just a little bit past the entrance. Then he gets up when he walks, and don't encourage him. Let him do it on his own. When he goes over there, goes through there. Second he touches his lips, maybe say escape. Come up with a positive word. Don't say jail or something like that. But escape or away. And then after a while, if you do that enough and the baby starts approaching him and you know he's not liking it, you say escape. He just gets up and goes over there expecting to get a treat. Also, we like the guardians to use the escalating consequences to disagree with the dogs. If you don't know what the escalating consequences are, again, go to the dog training tips and enter the search box and type in escalating consequences together, and that will help. Then you'll be able to watch them. Now, anytime that they do interact in a positive way, inside, I would make sure you reward them. My puppy was kind of a nuisance to my adult dogs, and they just walked away from him whenever he came by. Anytime they would show interest, just even sniffing him, I would go over and give them a treat or pet them. So every time I do interact with the other dogs, something good happens to me. Now they're best of buddies. But that can also help create a positive association. And one other thing I'd like the guardians to do is have times where you're holding Oliver and then go over and sit down next to him and pet him and kind of scratch Oliver's chest while you're petting him at the same time. That way they get used to. Now if Oliver growls, give a quick correction or put him down on the ground and then continue petting him. But that way we want to have them practice doing that. You might want to practice doing that outside in your backyard. Outside we have more space and that's easier for the dogs to process. Inside it's more constricted. Also there's more things to guard about. I'm sure I'm probably leaving some other things out. I really think that Oliver is just confused as to his position. So once the guardians get in a habit of consistently enforcing rules and boundaries for about a month or two, you should see less and less of these dust-ups. And he's like, man, I don't have to handle it myself. The guardians are going to not allow me to handle it. And he sees that you're handling it. He feels more confident. The last thing, I keep on saying last thing, but I'd like the guardians to take a turn, and I know we have a child and there's a lot of things going on, but if we can take the time to teach the dogs a new trick each week for 8 weeks, that will really boost both of their confidence. What I would suggest is we kind of have 2 guardians here. 1 week, guardian A goes to YouTube and finds a trick, teaches the dogs the trick, and then teaches the other guardian what the trick is. Then the next week, the other guardian teaches both dogs a trick, and then all week that long, during that week, you practice that trick. At the end of 8 weeks, they have 8 new skills. They're going to feel really good about themselves. Their sense of pride and self-worth and self-confidence will be higher. And I think a lot of Oliver's reactivity comes from lower self-esteem. So it's down. So the more that we can boost and give him a positive association and inflate his self-confidence, the less that he feels he needs to correct the other dog. All right, this is the roadmap to success. Don't stop it yet, because remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.